Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Dan.
How are you?
Good morning, Steve.
Oh, wait.
Good morning, Dan. How are you? Good morning, Steve.
There we go. Per usual, it's been a long time since we've done this. I forgot how everything works.
But we're back to full speed. We've never been this good. They're catching up. They're catching us at our best. But I am good. I missed you, Dan.
I miss you too. And I'm going to be honest. I am so sad that we are not doing Gamehole Con together.
Yeah, me too. Me too. 100%. I hate missing the show. It just happens to be on the same weekend as the Baltimore Comic Con, and this will be their 26th or 27th year. I've never. It's a different environment. Comics, they bring me out. They put me up. It's just Whereas Gamehole Con is like $1,500, $1,700, just the entry fee coming up from Florida. So.
No, I get it. I get it. In fact, I mean, I've got 3 events submitted for Gamehole Con this time. 3 shows. And while I'm not a guest, Alex is waiving my badge fee, so I got that going for me. I still have no lodging yet because I missed the portal window and because I had family commitments, and now I'm like, I don't even know where or how I'm staying there. So
gotcha.
We'll
you're going to find a Airbnb or something like that, like you usually do.
Maybe we'll see how it goes. They got camping grounds, so if worst comes to worst, I'll sleep in my truck.
That's great.
But now I'm not worried about it. This whole, running my mega media D&D empire has just been so much lately that, little things like finding lodging for a 4-day convention slips through the cracks.
Have you been traveling a lot?
Well, I did Gary Con a couple months ago, about a month ago. I did Chaosium Con last week or the week before.
Yeah, last week.
And then more shows. I've got more shows coming up. So 2025 is the year of the Catacombs of Comedians, apparently, for the most part. Great. But yeah, so let's get this out of the way. Steve, who the hell are you?
I the hell am Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. It's on Webtoons and Tapas and Go Comics and all those lovely places. It's also on my own website at steveconley.com, where you also find my gaming stuff, my TTRPG books, including the book that's shipping now, Intoximancy, which is... am I backwards? I am backwards.
No, you're not backwards to me, but that's not Intoximancy. That's Nibblemancy.
Oh, Nibblemancy. I'm backwards. My first book was Intoximancy. The latest one is Nibblemancy, with Death Dealing and the Prayer's Handbook in the middle there. It's shipping now, and the response so far has been very kind. The people have received it. I think most of the zine orders have shipped. I think there's a handful that have not, and the hardcovers are going out the door now.
Have I gotten mine yet? I don't know.
I don't know. You have. I don't know what tier you signed up for, or whether you just thought Steve's going to give you one, but you get one no matter what.
I support you. I think I pretty much signed up for one, but
that's fantastic. I don't recall it because I include a hand signed note with every one of them, and I would have certainly personalized the note to you. So I don't think I've mailed yours out yet.
Big middle finger.
Yeah, usually it's something.
Or there's a penis on every page.
Yeah, I mean. I just want you to be happy with the book, and I know you're not happy. You won't read a book unless there's a penis on every page.
Hey, you got to have your priorities. No, that's because I support so many things.
You're almost too generous. You're almost like you are the Bill and Melinda Taylor Foundation.
I've got Kickstarter and backer kit packages that I haven't even opened piled up at this point now. So I don't even know who I back, what I back, whatever.
Every weekend's another trip to IKEA for more shelves to put the unopened packages.
Actually, I think I'm a Target guy with shelves there. So because IKEA, the closest IKEA is either Atlanta, Georgia or Memphis, Tennessee. So
how many hours away is that?
4 hours each.
Oh gosh, forget that.
Yeah. Maybe 3 hours Memphis. I can't remember, but But regardless, yeah, I've got stacks and stacks of books, and because every con I buy some books, and but I write them off of my taxes. So
What's the latest book that you got?
the latest book that I got it right here. I got the Call of Cthulhu Down Darker Trails setting book. It's a
That's
Western. Awesome. This is the only thing I bought at Chaosium.
Oh wow.
Because I have an idea for a Western Cthulhu type thing. I don't know if I will ever do it, but figured I'll get that. And but we'll talk about Chaosium. Let's first cover, what do you need to cover?
What do I need to cover? I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I'm shipping my books out. I mean, there's news in the D&D world. I know your patron saint Chris Perkins has retired.
Along with Jeremy Crawford.
And Jeremy Crawford. I didn't see the word retirement associated with Jeremy Crawford. Chris Perkins' a note was saying, "I'm retiring."
Retiring from, though, I think is what.
That's interesting.
He said. I'm not positive, but no, that was kind of weird news. I mean, they've both been with D&D for a long, long time. They've turned D&D into a game I really, really appreciate and like. I'm not talking about corporate. I'm not talking about Hasbro. I'm not talking Wizards of the Coast in general.
Sure.
I'm talking about those two gentlemen who have been very kind to me over the last couple of years. It's like when your two favorite all-stars leave your favorite baseball team. You're like, oh.
See, I almost understood the metaphor till you said baseball. Yeah, I get that. There's yeah, I absolutely do. Crawford had been with D&D, with TSR, and with Wizards of the Coast 28 years. I mean, a huge stamp on it. And they both released this new version, which, by the way, no one has called 5.2. We've all been calling it 5e 2024, but the Monster Manual came out in 2025. There was no official name for it until this SRD that they're going. Apologize for my connection, everybody.
No.
Which they've said it's the 5.2 SRD. So I think I comfortably call the current iteration of D&D 5.2. Right? I feel like that stamps it with a label.
I mean, I still call it 2024.
You prefer 2024?
I don't know if it's what I prefer. It's just what I've accustomed myself to.
But
either refer.
They shepherded in this new version, and when all the stuff with WotC's continuous rake stepping from the last year and a half, an eventful year and a half of one fiasco after another, those guys were nowhere. They had said, okay, we're going to do some play tests. We're going to have some stuff coming out, and then this thing went away. This happened, and then the play tests went quiet, and those guys went away, and suddenly, what was his name? Brink? Some other guy from inside the company was suddenly the face, and the two previous faces of all that time were like, no, this is not our doing. We don't own this. And then once all that stuff, that dust settled, then when it came time that the books were coming out, then they were much more in everyone's faces, and they were great. Those were great ambassadors, not only for D&D but for tabletop role playing.
Mm-hmm.
And the turn against modern D&D is largely those two guys not being in charge and corporate being in charge. That's what it felt like. That felt like the shift to me. For 20 something years, or since we were starting, D&D was never in good hands.
No, it's never been in good hands.
Since day one.
Yeah.
And but the OGL thing, when they basically, I guess they were so small, they were flying below Hasbro's radar or whatever. But when the lawyers got involved and all this stuff happened, it kind of that culture shift. And I don't even know if it was a culture shift, because it probably never affected the creators. It probably never affected game designers, but the people who sell it and get it, who used to get it into bookstores and stopped getting it into bookstores.
It affected the presentation and delivery.
Yeah, it was it was like kind of gross and petty, and it gave everyone who kind of given up on D&D since an AD&D or second edition or third edition or now diehard Pathfinder players or whatever. It gave them like, see, we were right all along, and I'm like, no, I don't know if they were. They were right for themselves, but I don't know if they were right globally. But yeah, they continually do this stuff that just seems to be like clumsy and petty, but not Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins.
No, I truly hope to see them in some capacity again. I don't see them necessarily going to another established company, but maybe they start creating their own thing.
That's what Mike Merles is doing with his Patreon.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's doing. But he's working with Chaosium at this point now too.
Right. Which is weird. He spends a lot of his time talking about his Odyssey system instead of talking about Chaosium. Did you cross paths with him at Chaosium Con?
I did not. I'm going to stick to Gary Con right now and what we're discussing, because when I went to Gary Con, it's got a very much a feeling of Gary Con is a grognard convention, if that makes sense.
It does, for sure.
There's plenty of D&D 5th edition going on, but there's a definite, we're playing either old D&D or we're playing old school revival D&D, like, Shadow Dark or Dungeon Crawl Classics and stuff like that, which is fine. Actually at Gary Con, I played my first Dungeon Crawl Classics, had fun. I played actually got around to finally playing Shadow Dark. Fun game, but it's still all D&D to me. But really those aspects to I haven't gone back to play those old school as opposed to playing what I've been playing D&D 5th edition is the older OSR, and I'm not bashing either one here. I'm not bashing old school gaming, and I'm not bashing new school gaming, if that's what we're calling it. I just coined that. We're calling it new school gaming. Old school gaming is very much, let's just go in and fight. I don't need or solve puzzles, or I don't need backstory. I don't need a world around me. I don't need, mythos and meta type of things. While D&D while the new D&D seems to be, yes, these are the half-orcs that make a very special brand of coffee. And these are, this is the kingdom where it's in turmoil and there's a civil war and there's a lot of backstory added to your game. While you play Shadowrun, there's none of that. You're just going into the dungeon to fight some cultist. Now, I'm sure you could build a campaign to emphasize it more. And again, these were convention shows where you don't have a lot of time to do all that sort of stuff.
If a long game might be 8 hours, but most of the long games are 4, but on average, most games are an hour and a half, right?
There are 4. No, most of them are 4-hour games. It was hard to find it because I've got, and we've discussed this, I have the attention span of a gnat, both in my playing and in my creating. And it's hard to find a 2-hour or 3-hour game at these conventions, but that's what I prefer, because my mind starts to wander if I'm not, I did play a 4-hour game, I think. And I had fun in a couple 4-hour games. And they were all fun and great and everything. But it's just the old D&D, or the old, let's just call old OSR, seems much more, I don't know, board game-ish, or even video game-ish in the sense of, Call of Duty or, Fortnite, or where you just jump in and, fight. While newer role-playing, such as the new 5th edition of D&D, seems to be, more like the Baldur's Gate video game, or the games with, more meat around it as far as the world around you, If that any of that makes sense, and I don't even know why I went off on that.
When I talk to my dungeon master about this, I say more RP than G, or more G than RP. Like if it's more role playing than game, more game than role playing. Some people don't even want dice at the table. That's like it's heavy role playing. Some of these very collaborative games where there's no dungeon master, everyone is kind of calling shots. I mean, but I think I think the old school Renaissance, old school revival, old school revenge. I don't know.
Old school revenge. I like that. Yeah.
What?
Oldschoolrevenge.com. Got it.
They all. They kind of. They don't like. In some ways, there is the grognard sense. Is they kind of liked being that this was their thing. This is my thing, and I don't know why everyone else suddenly likes it, but if you're going to play it, you have to respect me for being here first. There's a kind of like this weird little scoldy quality to it, which is dumb, but I kind of sort of get it. Everyone wants to be, well, I knew this band before it was so popular and everyone else liked it. I like their first album. I hate all their new stuff. It's really this weird, clicky, I don't know. It's also, I'm set in my ways. I learned how to play the game, and if it's not, if it's not, face rip Marvel or something like that, then it's not good. I don't know. That's all. That seems very. The division seems silly, because I'm certain there's someone playing Shadow Dark with tons of role playing, and there's absolutely tons of Shadow Run where there were adventure modules, and those 24, 36 page books weren't all rules. They were settings and backstories and mysteries and all this stuff. The modules were almost all, or the setting books, the Greyhawk book, or the Manual of the Plains. Those were all, sure, there were monster stat blocks, and there might be a few new spells in there or something like that, but it was mostly lore and mythos. So I don't think it's, I don't know. It's weird that it's, I don't know. There's a fascinating panel. It was recorded at GaryCon, and it's on YouTube. And it was a OSR panel hosted by Limithron, the Pirate Board guys. And I think Kelsey Dion was on it, and a few other people are on it. But it's available on YouTube. It's a great video. But they can't even agree what OSR stands for. So
yeah. Well, it stands for Old School Revenge, as far as I'm concerned now at this point. Yeah, because it was weird because I played Mutant Crawl Classic, which is the Dungeon Crawl Classic version of Gamma World, which was Jim Wampler put to get Jim Wampler created, and he was the DM, he was the keeper or whatever for this game, which was fine, which was fun, and I had never played it before. Everybody else had played it before, but it's not much to it. It's not hard, I wasn't confused or anything because I've been playing role-playing games for 50 years, and it's pretty simple. But I remember at one point my character, I was some sort of mutant with one eye. And I said, okay, well, from my vantage point, I use my one eye to scan around, looking around like a lighthouse, just rotating around. And Jim complimented me. Okay, here's a luck point or a gooey goo point or whatever, flashy lighty point or whatever they call them in that game, for role playing. Because a lot of people weren't role playing, and this goes to the same thing with the Mutant Crawl Classic game I was in, the Dungeon Crawl Classic game I was in, and the Shadow Dark campaign I was in. We were just there to go in and do what we needed to do.
Right.
What was my, there was no connection with, and I understand these are short, 2 or 4 hour games, but there was no connection to why I was there or why I was doing it or why I was with these people. And I don't know, it just seems like with the D&D now, in the 5th edition, how a lot of people play it, there could be 4 complete strangers, but instantly they're like, oh, well, we're adventuring together because of, because your mother went to school with my mother. And so it's that sort of, it's more of a, I don't know, a living, breathing organism with newer role playing than like a lot of the storytelling games. Now here, I do not prefer the storytelling games. Here I am complaining that the old school is too much. Just do it, but
hey, Goldilocks, which one? What's the one that you like?
Right in the middle. You know, I want. Here's what I like in my games and how I kind of create my games. I want that +1 dagger, but I want that +1 dagger to be more than a +1 dagger. I want it to be a +1 dagger because it was used by the Dragon Legion of so and so.
Yeah.
And this, I want that kind of history. Not a lot, doesn't need to be a lot, just I want the perfect balance of storytelling and mechanics, I guess, is what my thing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like it. I think it's funny that there's too much for I get that. I absolutely get that.
I don't know if you're frozen or if you're waiting for me to comment. You must be frozen. All right. While we try to figure out Steve's technical problems, let's see where we at. Oh, and you're gone. So, folks, I guess I'll just keep it rolling for now, and hopefully Steve gets back on real quick. And we'll cover some more things. Let's see, Steve, where are you? Here we go.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age. And I've moved closer to my router. I don't know if that'll do anything. I'm plugged in. My computer's usually I am plugged into via Ethernet into my router just to make sure things like this don't happen. But sadly today my computer was acting wonky, so I'm on my iPad.
Okay.
I think I told you that offline, but I don't think the audience. I told anyone there.
No, and we just completely ridiculed you while you were offline.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, the room filled up with 500 people.
Yeah, we got raided by.
Yeah, and then they all left just before you came back on. So
that makes sense.
So anyway, so enough about that conversation. So Gary Con, let me tell you about Gary Con. I had 2 shows, 2 Catacombs and Comedian shows, and I had 3 games that I DM'd. And the 3 games that I DM'd were for kids 12 and under. So that was a lot of fun. We did my Flagging the Dragons Fungin adventure. The first game, it was just one little girl and her mom and dad, which was fine. Second game was 2 cousins, a girl and a boy, that their dads just dumped off on me and went to go do their thing, which is totally what I expected to happen.
How long were your games? How long were those games?
Hour and a half, 2 hours. I kept them short. Yeah, because the DM doesn't, and I understand. I've got the attention span of these 8-year-olds as well.
Yeah,
so
it can't be longer than a Pixar movie.
No, so we all got along. We got along fine. And then the third game I had was completely full, and it was a good, fun time. Nobody had signed up for my Sunday game, so I went ahead and just canceled that one and got out early, which is fine with me. You know me, I get to Sunday and I'm like, I've had enough. But those games went real well. It was really fun, enjoyable. Everybody walked away with all sorts of swag because you know me, I'm the swag king. I had new little plush glow in the dark fluorescent skeletons and things like that I gave out. Hold on one sec. Okay, and Julie's coming to the house and the dogs will be barking pretty soon. So
great.
Yeah. So anyway, and So other than, and then the two shows I ran a classic traveler character creation show. And on board with that one, let's see, I had Rob Weiland, I had Sarah Babe, I had who else was there on?
John Kovalic.
Of course, I had John Kovalic. I had Brian CP Steele, and I had Matt Forbeck was a last minute add on. Because what's a Catacombs Creator show without a Forbeck?
Your anchor.
And I had no real idea how I was going to do the show. I just printed out a bunch of blank character sheets and gave everybody a little pamphlet of character creation, because it's been so long since I played. And rather than researching and getting the show prepped and ready, fine-tuned, I went to my hotel room and took a nap.
Sure.
Yeah. And
would you recommend that to other people doing this in that situation?
I highly do. Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's
good. Take a nap, then pop a 5 milligram gummy before the show, and you'll be fine.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, nothing went wrong. The show was hilarious. I think part of the fun was me floundering, but everybody would do it. Everybody had fun. The audience participated. It was a great time. So I'm definitely doing it again. I'll have it was a success. Let me just say that much. With as little prep as I managed to get together on this, it was a success. John Kovalic won the award because he did the best. He actually, one of his characters walked away with a scout ship. I think Forbeck had 13 or 16 characters die.
Perfect.
Yeah. And everybody, and most of the people who involved in that show were already like, I want to be on it again. I want to do it again.
That's great.
So I'll be bringing that to Gamehole Con. And then the other game I did at Gary Con was our Catacombs and Comedians and Creators Dungeons and Dragons, which again, I think Sarah Babe was the only new person on board instead of Forbeck. I think Forbeck was busy, but I had Ed Greenwood, John Kovalic, and Tommy Gofton. And I shit you not, Steve, this had to have been the funniest, hilarious, most absurd Catacombs and Creators show ever at a convention.
That's awesome.
It was off the hook, as the kids say. I was rolling shitty. I mean, I'm rolling ones. Kovalic was rolling 20s left and right. I started the show with, "Hi, welcome to Catacombs of Creators. The adventure tonight is I'm just going to try to kill Ed's character."
That's great.
And I managed to do damage, but I didn't kill him. But it ended up that Dirk of Many Stings came into play because Tommy's kept that throughout all the games, and there were wishes made and wish spells came in, and also it just got so. And I gave everybody at that one got a copy of my Oddities off print, the little zine that I have of the monsters. It has like 5 monsters from Catacombs Comedians. So everybody knows I would say, okay, which one do we hit them with next? And they'd go through, let's do this one. Okay, these attack you, Ed. And I mean, everybody just had fun. It was awesome. It was, if I could bottle that show and do it every time, it would be a great time. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Overall, I would say Gary Con was quite the success. Yes, Gary Con. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. And, it's, and that is that. Chaosium Con, I did not have a show. It's kind of a I was doing a little recon, seeing if I can do something, how it would work. And I got a chance to play more Call of Cthulhu, which I had only played once before, or twice before, once at Gen Con last, and then once in my Call of Cthulhu show where I was a player. And so I got that in and, had a good time. Everything was fine. The games were cool. The games were fun. I really did Call of Cthulhu. I'm getting more into that mytho because that has a built-in mythology to it. And that there is a rhyme and a reason. The games were kind of silly. Some of them. One, we were 80s wrestlers. Another was more traditional. And then also played their Chaosium's new Quest World, where the DM had set that up, and that's more of a storytelling game.
Cool.
You only use 1 die, 20 die every now and then. And that was fun. I liked it because I played it because I wanted to do I'm tinkering with an idea to put it in Quest World because I've had this idea forever, just looking for the right system for it. And I think Quest World might be it.
Right.
So I go, well, I got to play it at least once before I try to create it, though that's never stopped me before. And that was fun. He set it in Dungeons and Dragons in Waterdeep. So we knew the lore, we knew the settings, we knew it wasn't just to go in the dungeon and fight monsters and try to survive. Because that's what it comes down to. And I used that in my Traveler game. I got a big rubber stamp made that said deceased whenever a character died in character creation. And those Dungeon Crawl Classics and Shadow Dark games do the same thing. It's more of a competition between that's what I think I'm coming. Let's go back to that. That's what I think I'm coming to. Old school Revenge is more DM against players, players against DM.
Sure.
While newer role playing is let's create a story together. There you go. I like let's create a story together, but I still like the mechanics and don't necessarily want it to be just storytelling.
Fair enough.
So anyway, it's been so long since we talked. I'm just got,
Yeah, we're catching up. It's great.
What else we got? So at Gary Gamehole Con in October, which you will not be joining me in, and I may be sleeping on the streets. I will have 3 shows. I will have the Traveler show, I will have a D&D show, and I will have a Call of Cthulhu, which I am doing, but I'm going to rely heavily on the pulp genre so it's going to be fun and goofy, but Call of Cthulhu.
Will you be the lore keeper or the?
I will be the lore keeper, gatekeeper, the whatever keeper.
Yeah.
It is for that. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's in October. I've got my events planned or submitted. I don't know when or where or who all my players will be for that one yet. Oh, Aunt Julie's here. And let's see. Okay, so that's it for that one. As far as Catacombs and Comedians goes, this show in comedy clubs, I've got all my dates for the rest of the year for Huntsville and Nashville. Both clubs just went, okay, let's just figure it out. So I'm not, I wonder if, when I'm going to get in or how I'm going to, it's a done deal. We're good to go.
How often are you having those shows? Like
every other month, but it's, but they're staggered. So I have a show every month between those 2 clubs.
But you're not traveling twice a month. That's good.
Right. Through the rest of the year. Chattanooga. I'm playing a brand new club in Chattanooga in July, right before Gen Con, July 26th, I believe. 24th or 26th at the Catch Comedy Club. This is my first time there. I've never been there, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how that goes. And tickets are now on sale for that show. Tickets are on sale for every show at Zany's in Nashville at the Lab. I think we've got a show. I've got a show next month. I've got a show. Here comes the dogs barking. I'm going to mute. I'll be right back.
I'll vamp for a moment while Dan is off doing stuff. I think that you can go to catacombsandcomedians.com, and Dan may have links to purchase the tickets there. I'm going to go what's on the back shelf of his there. I see his Pirate Tales. I see his Star Trek and his, what else we got there? Dungeon Master, Avenger. Look at all that stuff. But if folks want to read my webcomic, it's The Middle Age. It's available at middleagecomic.com. I write it and draw it. It's over on Webtoons and Tapas and Go Comics. And I've made my 4th 5e subclass book, and that is what Nibblemancy is, and that's shipping now. But if you go to steveconley.com, you can find all that stuff at my website. And Dan may have silenced his doggies. Dan, welcome back.
Yeah. Oh, this is the most unprofessional show we've done yet.
Also, the most professional one we've done so far.
So, Chattanooga, I've got a list over here I'm looking at. speaking of conventions, which we weren't, we were just speaking of comedy clubs, so let's go back to conventions. Rocky Top convention in Knoxville.
You just made that up.
No, I did not make it up. But there's a convention in Knoxville called Rocky Top Gaming Con or convention or something along that line.
Sure.
We will have a show there. And
That's
is
great.
May 23rd through the 25th or something like that. We're going to have a show Saturday night. We're the headline show Saturday night, 8:00. And that's going to be with comedians because I don't know of any creators going to that show.
Mm.
But I have a comic that lives in Knoxville. Nashville's only 2 hours, and Huntsville is only about 2 hours. So there you go. We've got comedians will be coming to that show. So I've got that show. That's a new thing we're playing. I talked about Zanies and Stand Up Live, where we're back doing. All the dates are set. The next show just go to Catacombs Comedians. They're all listed there. It's too much. I actually need a manager at this point. I got too many shows going on.
You're the manager.
I am the manager. I'm the producer. I'm the showrunner. I'm the
squad.
Let's see. And Helium Comedy Club in Indianapolis. Tickets are now on sale for our show that Wednesday night before Gen Con starts.
That's great.
And we'll be doing shows at Gen Con itself as well. Though they're not scheduled yet and I don't have the times. They're still working on their schedule. So that's how things have been busy for me, Steve.
You sound exactly the same as when I talked to you last time. Like there's too many things happening, but that's awesome. I'm thrilled for the success you had at GaryCon. I love what happened at Chaosium. I think all that stuff is fantastic. I'm super stoked for you. Did they happen to record any of the stuff at GaryCon?
No,
of course not. But it's so great. I'm so happy for you, man.
Speaking of recording, I am getting recordings of shows that in my Nashville and Huntsville shows, and now I've actually got an editor making some sense of them because they're just what standard, static shot of everybody on stage. But now I've got an old friend of mine who is an actual professional video editor. He's got nothing better to do, and he'll work for T-shirts. So
fantastic.
So I think I should have that first one that he's done ready tomorrow.
Any particular T-shirts, or you just raid your wardrobe and go, I don't like this one.
Catacombs. He works for Catacombs and Comedian Swag, and he's also just been promoted to my invited and joined us on the Old Guys Roll campaign that I'm running online, which I have not put out any yet, but they've been recorded.
Excellent.
And these are my two best friends from second grade. And my editor friend, who's my best friend from high school. So the four of us are playing Dungeons and Dragons. But
are you dungeon mastering?
I'm dungeon master, and so it's been a lot of fun. And my two best friends from second grade, they'll be coming to Gen Con for their first time with me this year, and so you'll see I'll be putting those soon on my Zero Level Media Patreon, as well, because I figured whatever. So there you go. I am a scatterbrain. I got so much going on. And let's see what else. I don't know. You throw something out at me.
I'm working on my next 5e project. But my focus is getting Nimblemancy out the door. I had another Kickstarter that was my collection of my webcomic, The Middle Age, and those were all shipped. And so as soon as Nimblemancy's out the door, and as soon as they're actually shipped and in the hands of UPS or USPS, then I will announce the next one. I don't want to overlap them. I want to have more of the next one done. I am excited that they have announced the 5.2 SRD for the Creative Commons, which means when I do announce this project, I can build it with that in mind. I think I was building I built Nimblemancy with that new SRD in mind, basically just saying this subclass overwrites the rules. That this says no matter what you're using, whether you're using Tales of the Valiant 2014 or 2024, use this book. So I think that's good. I think that's good. There's certain things I just don't like about 2024. I mean, I understand the value of it, like standardizing when subclasses get introduced to classes. I feel like having classes get their bonuses at different levels makes the classes feel more distinct. And if each one has growth spurts at different times, that variance, I don't know, it calls more uniqueness to characters aren't just how much damage they can do, how much they can heal, and how much they can take. It's more about their individual personalities. And I wish those hadn't been standardized, but so be it. But so the next one I have to build that with things like that in mind. So that's all my thinking is really more about like getting artwork done, getting the writing done, getting the mechanics in place, so I feel really good about it. And I think this subclass, the next one I'm doing, might be the weirdest one yet. And with metadomain, that's saying a lot. I think that this one is going to be weirder than those. But who knows? Who knows? It's been a year since my last Kickstarter, so I have no idea if my audience will come back. I don't know if they're still playing Dungeons and Dragons. I fingers crossed. And then I might also be doing I feel fairly confident I'll be doing a magic items book as well. I feel like I have a unique take on those that will be fun and put a spin on it in a way that will give, because I think when I go to a Kickstarter, I'm like, okay, this is a bunch of magic items, but what is it about? What's the theme of them?
Yeah.
And I
that's
feel
that's what I'm talking about compared to old school revenge and new stuff. What's
a new school revenge? I feel like the idea that it's just stats, or it's just, okay, it's a +2 sword that does this kind of damage versus that kind of damage, and real I don't know, personality. So anyway, and my stuff's all that, because there are better game designers, better rule makers than me, and I'm only piggybacking on existing systems, but trying to find a way to make it balanced. And I really feel like I'm onto something with this. So, but I got to make sure that the previous book's out the door before I talk too much about the next one, because I really feel like anyone chomping at the bit to get Nibblemancy doesn't want to hear about my new thing. I don't know about the new thing. Tell me, give me my loot. So,
and you're real good with the crunch of everything. You make sure everything works. You do a lot of investigating into that, and a lot of research, and a lot of not necessarily play testing, but throwing it out there to people who may know more than you do about the crunch and how things work, and which is way more than I do. I'm like, play testing.
Well, I feel like as long as I take into account the other players at the table, because it'll be real easy to sell a player on, here's your new I win button, but nobody at the table, okay, it's your rogue, and you get, when combat starts, you get +20 to initiative, you can teleport 180 feet and strike a target, and you'll have advantage on the attack, and you'll do a bonus 50 points of damage. Every rogue, oh, I love that. Everyone else at the table will be twiddling their thumbs and hate it to death. And I feel like, so you can't make a character too powerful. So you have to give them power in a way that's balanced with everybody else. You can't make the dungeon master's life any more difficult than it already is.
Yeah, that's what I do to myself. So that damn Dirk of many stings. I'm like,
for purposes of comedy, gold. It's gold.
Yeah,
it's gold.
It's gold.
But for trying to sell something that you can convince your dungeon master to allow at the table, I basically try to make it so that, is this something a dungeon master would accept and other players won't hate? And I think as long as I satisfy those two things, everything else is cool. I also have to do a lot of research to make sure I'm not just stepping on anybody else's toes. If anyone's done anything like this, why should I do it? But you can't do infinite. But there's the fan community for Dungeons and Dragons is 50 years old and so deep. Odds are you're going to brush up against some things, but I can't let that be an excuse. I can't let that be a thing where, that's why I have to read so much, because I do want to find my own niche, and I don't want to just churn out something that has, I don't know. If you've only read 5 books, whatever you're going to produce is going to be derivative of those five things. You read 1 million books, then suddenly, if a little bit from each one of them, it's so long, it's not going to have the flavor of one of the things you just read. So I'm just doing a ton of reading, and looking at how other games work, and then really digging into 2024 weapon masteries and all that stuff. So I have to make it so that you have to take weapon masteries into account. But if someone's playing 2014, those don't exist. So how do you make it so that, how do you balance a weapon? How do you balance a weapon that can do something here but not here in Tales of Valiant?
How you just throw it out there. Or that's me. I just throw it out there. And
right. So that's what I'm up to. That's what I'm up to. Is
what happens happens.
Yeah. So that's what I'm up to. And I'm also, and also just trying to understand more. I feel like I need to understand the history of the game more. I need to just be smarter, a whole lot smarter.
Why bother being smart?
Or I could just fall asleep and take a gummy. That's what I meant to
say. There you go. I have learned
with all the stuff you have on your docket. How do you? Do you set aside a downtime after a convention to think about what? I mean, you got the drive back, that helps. But when you're not distracted by roadkill or veering Honda Civics,
getting speeding tickets on the way to
or flashing lights in your rear view mirror. And are there moments where you have that you set aside for a post-mortem, like here's how the event went?
Most definitely. I won't do anything. Like I'll get home from a show and I'll just play video games for a couple days where I won't actually sit and create. I mean, of course I might have to get on and do administrative work for the promotion of Catacombs and Comedians, but I'm not working on the next show as far as the content for that show or the content for my next convention or the content for my next upcoming project or content for the project I've been sitting on forever and having, I do take a good, 3 or 4 days, maybe just to.
So that's kind of a decompression. But I guess what I'm getting at is kind of what I did after I had the South Carolina Comic-Con recently. It was one of the Saturdays I wasn't available for the stream. And I decided that, Sunday night was the drive back. Monday night was going to be exhausting. But I set 20 minutes aside to write down all my thoughts about the show, all the takeaways from it, all the things that I like. What did I learn from it? What about my table display? What about the vibe of that show? What were the things I overheard from other creators? It's weird how often I'm hearing like, it happened at GameholeCon and it's happened at most other conventions since. Oh, you need to have a YouTube channel in order to sell books or it's like such a weird, and it's why so many people have these kind of half-assed YouTube channels. They don't have anything to say. They just need it to get their book out.
Like this channel.
I feel I'm not, but I get it because people are like, okay, how do you sell books? Well, you have to be Matt Colville famous or Seth Skorkowski famous or Bob Worldbuilder famous. You have to have that kind of audience in order to sell the thing. Kelsey Dion, you have to have that Arcane Library, audience so that when you launch your thing, it can be a success. And I totally get that. But it feels like, I don't know. Don't know another period in time where indie creators felt like they needed to move into another medium in order to. You really got to have a radio show. If you don't have a radio show, you're never going to move your comic books. Or it's really weird. And it also seemed like a little bit like sour grapes. Like some people are like, I've got this book, but because I don't have a channel, it's not selling as many copies. It's really, I don't know, a lot of frustration out there. So many people were, one of the big takeaways from that event was the constant refrain of people saying, I don't know how to get eyes on my work because social media doesn't do it anymore.
Not anymore.
And that's wild. I think that's one of the reasons why people are so that's why YouTube and Twitch and people are just TikTok. People are trying everything. But it's weird because they don't, all those things become new mouths to feed. And all those things are taking you away from the thing that you're meant to be doing, allegedly. Yeah. So at some point, a person's not a game creator anymore. At some point, they're just a YouTuber.
Along those lines, like my Pirate Tales novella came out about a year ago, 2 days ago. About a year ago, exactly a year ago, 2 days ago. I'm probably still in the double digits as far as how many copies sold. But I sell more copies of that book on my merch table at the end of my shows and comedy clubs than I have on Amazon.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Because Amazon, there's so much on there. But if I or one of my comedians goes, "Oh yeah, Dan, be sure to check out Dan's book on your way out," it's right there.
That's why That's why from the beginning I've been so bullish about you and Catacombs and Comedians and the live play, because you have an audience nobody else. More people will see any moment of your live show than will see this Twitch stream.
No, yeah.
This Twitch stream is all about me chatting with you. I don't care about viewer. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a video guy.
No, this is there'd be a better, higher production value if I was looking to make my mark on YouTube or Twitch right now with this.
Now we're gonna get some numbers. Now we're gonna get some clicks.
There you go. I was going to say something very inappropriate, but I'll let it slide.
I appreciate
that. What was I was going to say something. Oh, but that's the same with trying to book these comedy shows. Somebody that has a YouTube channel, a comedian that has a YouTube channel, or a podcast that has a YouTube channel. I won't even say comedian. Let me say a podcast. A podcast has a YouTube channel will likely get a successful YouTube channel, will likely get booked way easier and more often than my D&D comedy show, because I don't have that YouTube audience.
Yeah, because the comedy club is also like, we got to get our name out there. Social media is not working anymore. And the convention that's booking you is like, well, social media is not working anymore. We got to get our name out there. What's Dan's audience like? How many followers do you have on Blue Sky?
So
what are your spoutable numbers, Dan?
I could tell you we've got 91, 94 Twitch subscribers to Zero Level Media. Woo!
That's huge. That's huge. The core people. They are influencers, every one of them.
So again, that's the struggles in roaming the labyrinth of creativity. Is we just can't create.
Are you trying to put a professional button on this episode, Dan? After all the chaos.
I'm just trying to make it look better. What? You don't think that worked? You don't like that segue?
It was glorious. It was like, that's our professional wrap up. That's the way it is. Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea.
Good night. Good luck. Let me show you this, though.
Please.
I've got new swag. And you know me and my swag.
Of course you do.
This is for Catacombs and Comedians, and we'll be premiering it next week at or this week or whatever next week. This Thursday at our show in Huntsville. My Zero Level Media intern, Jesse, 34-year-old intern, is now a comedian playing the actual...
You got to say his age.
Because it's funny to have a 34-year-old intern.
Okay.
And but now he's joined the table at least at the Huntsville show. He's one of the comics now.
That's awesome.
He'll be the comic at Gen Con. He'll be at the Rocky Mountain or Rocky High convention and everything like that. But he has a character called Montrose Dotson, who is a dragonborn rogue with a peg leg and an eye patch.
Love it.
Who just carries around a large sack. And he just, if I mention something like there's a glowing skull, he just goes in the bag, in the sack.
I love it.
There's a goblin eating a fried chicken in the sack. He just throws it. It's like a bag of holding, but we don't, it's just being the comedy show. We're not, there's no specifics of who we could go in. And he made himself a random table about what he pulls out of the sack during the game. Because I'm going to reach, like, he needs, there's a monster. Well, let's see what I can pull out of the sack. Oh, it's a half-eaten sandwich,
Right.
And how he's going to utilize that to fight the monster. Maybe it's a sandwich that the monster likes. Maybe it's got, extra mayo to make things slippery. Who knows? But we'll try to get it into the game.
I love it.
So we came up with Montrose Dotson's Sack of Spoils.
Love it.
Inside this, now I'm going to have these on sale at the show and give out a couple freebies. Inside this, we have
an actual chart for you to roll a D100 to what pulls out. And it's got all sorts of stuff on here, from just a wooden mallet to a small sack of truffles to a stone brick to a set of brass balls, which gives you +2 save versus frightened.
Love it.
Not a lot of magic items, like a potted plant, but how can you use the potted plant? You know, maybe a mummified finger with a signet ring, and that signet ring can be, you know. So we'll see. Yeah. It just, you know, and it's this nice little booklet that goes in the sack, and the D100 to roll.
Love it.
What you know? Now you could use percentile die, but what's the fun of that? You need one of these forever
That's
rolling things. So this will be a new thing, new thing at the show. I'll have them at the whatever show that character's playing at. We'll have it at. So
did you? I would say, have you purchased yourself an embroidery machine to make those bags, or did you find a vendor for those?
I found a vendor for these, and that's just a screen print on those bags. That's Etsy, and I've made 3 bags now. I've had a Catacombs Comedians dice pouch, the 4D20 dime bag,
sure.
And this one now. It's a nice little gimmick. I mean, I think it works as a dice pouch. So
yeah, for sure.
And they're not that expensive. They're like $1 a piece, maybe.
That's great.
And speaking of 4D20, I was going to launch it tomorrow, but it's a Sunday, and you're not supposed to launch backer kits on Sundays, and it's also Easter. So
yeah, you talked about that a while back about like, I don't want to do it on Easter. I'm like, that's probably wise.
So I'll probably put out an update on it tomorrow. But as far as when, I don't know if I'm going to wait till next 420 to launch it. I mean, let me check real quick to see what day of the week. It'll be a Monday. Which isn't horrible.
In 2020, in Monday? No, that's not bad at all.
No, especially I could do it, you know, launch it at 4:20 in the afternoon on 4:20, maybe. Who knows?
And, you know, stoners are going to miss the launch by a few hours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be taking their gummy and napping.
No, I took my nap and then took my gummy for the stage. So
nice.
But or will I have the campaign end on 420? You know, I could do it 30 days leading up to that. So still figuring out. I mean, I'm still working on it. I've contacted Matthew Sargent to do more art for me already.
Awesome.
I'm working on like a leveling system I've got down where it's just going to be 3 levels.
Cool.
And I'm trying to come up with a good magic system that works. That's simple. That doesn't, you know, because I don't want a long book of spell names, even though, you know, cannabis strains gives a great use for cannabis strain names, or make great spell names at the same time, like the blue lightning frost. Wow, what? That sounds amazing.
Now, are those generic names, or are they trademark names? Like,
no, I just pulled that out of my my ass right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not familiar enough with them, because I just know that some apple names are like, oh, that's a specific patented seed that is only, you know, apples like Cosmic Crisp is like a
you know what? If I happen to use someone that's trademark and they want to come fight me.
Yeah, you're just going to send out a press release about it.
Yeah, and then, you know, I did the same thing with Superhero Happy Hour when I got squashed, so I'll do the same thing with 4D20.
In my defense, I was high when I wrote it.
But here's what I walked away with from Chaosium Con. Yes, there will be a Cthulhu 4D20
good
thing, because the name of the university, you know the name of the university in Cthulhu Mythos, right?
No.
Miskatonic University.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Miskatonic University. Thank you. Good night.
So you're going to make a second set of rules because you come up with a pun?
Yeah, that's how I operate.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And on that,
your muse is mean to you. That's awesome.
It's funny when I told my 34-year-old intern Jesse that. I go, oh, I got it. What's the name of the university? And he goes, Miskatonic. And I go, so it's going to be, and he goes, and in such a defeated tone, he just went, Mr. Chronic.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it'll be the 4D20 rules. I won't make too much of a stretch. It'll be a little booklet. So
that's great.
But I cannot not do it now that I thought of that.
No, you have to.
Yeah. So I'm working on that logo design right now instead of actually mechanics for the game, because that's how I roll.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, once you made the logo, you have to make the product. That's how
it
works, right?
Exactly. That's how I mean, Catacombs Comedians was pretty much that way. Came up with the laughing D20. I go, here you go. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there with Miska Chronic University. Look for that word to coming out on that soon. And it'll be like 5 years before I ever get it out. But no, I'm working on it in between research breaks. Anything else you got before we sign off? And I go check in with Angeli.
That's plenty.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Maybe we can go 2 weeks in a row.
Stranger things have happened.
We'll see how that goes. So anyway, thanks a lot, Steve. Where can everybody find you again?
You can find me at steveconley.com, and I'm on Blue Sky and Facebook.com/America's Favorite Steve Connolly is where you can find me. And where can they find you, Dan?
You can find me at zerolevelmedia.com for the most part, as well as catacombsandcomedians.com. And so that's it, everybody. So nice to see you, Steve. I miss us so much.
Have a good week, man.
We just got to find a way. I'll meet you somewhere. Like I'll meet you in Atlanta.
No, I'm good. This is fine.
Okay.
This could have.
All right, fine. I will not feel crushed by that. All right, Steve. I'll see you later.
See you then.
Everybody make your saving throws.